There we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to Cluster API Azure Office Hours. I'm Jonathan, and this is the meeting for September 7th. So at the start of every meeting, if anybody's new and would like to introduce themselves, please go ahead.
Hello, this is Ishwan, and I'm software engineer working at Mastercard, and I primarily work on the Kubernetes, the platform engineering, hosting Kubernetes on multiple cloud providers and supporting it. So I'm planning to contribute to the open source, so just want to get a hang of it. And also there is an open issue that I have submitted, which is something that we'd like to implement. So I just want to see how I can collaborate with the open source community and get it to work. So, but overall, I just want to be part of it and learn from you guys and take it forward.
Fair enough. Welcome. Anybody else? All right. If not, I guess we can get into the open discussion, I believe. PSA patch releases 1.10.3 and 1.9.8 are out, with CAPI v1.4.6 and 1.11.0 with CAPI 1.5.1 next week. Next item, David, take it away.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a feel for folks. We have mad flurry of SDK v2 PRs that Matt and some others are doing, but wanted to bring up the broader question of if, because the SDK v2 is no longer receiving any security bug updates starting at September 30th, or I guess October 1st. The question is it worth holding out slightly longer, maybe like a week, to try and finish the SDK v2 updates, so that we have a release that has all up-to-date dependencies for provisioning. So I wanted to throw that out there as a discussion for the group.
I guess Matt, go ahead.
I don't think it really matters that much in practice. I think at this point we're doing a really good job, but probably if we're going to stick to our release date, as you're sort of implying, we're probably not going to quite make it, just because of, not because we're not able to write the code in time, but because all these things collide with each other and need to be rebased, and our CI takes quite a while, and probably we'll find some bugs or interesting things. Anyway, so probably I agree, if we want to complete the SDK v2 work at this point, that probably will mean moving the ship date a little bit. I'm really on the fence because I don't think there's any practical, I don't think there's really much of practical consideration. It's more optics, and maybe, and it would be nice to say, hey, we're totally off SDK v1 now in this minor release, and we can stop worrying about that. So I guess I'm not really coming to a conclusion. I don't think it matters that much, but if other people feel strongly, I'm certainly happy to. The work is going to complete about the same time regardless, which at this point I would guess would be sometime in the middle of next week. Sorry, David, I don't know if that really clarified anything.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of more of a topic on the community call, see if other folks had inputs or not. But yeah, I mean, I think if we're really close and there's a couple PRs left, I don't know if that really matters that much. But again, it's a if it really is a couple days, is that going to be the end of the world either too, versus a week or more, because there is a lot of updates in the release as well that are already merged that are really important. So, but yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts now. Let's go ahead.
I really like the thought of waiting until we get all the SDK v2 changes. I think we can proclaim out there saying that, hey, we are finally on to SDK v2. So if we want to push out the release by a couple of days, I think that's okay with me. Thumbs up from me. But if we really want to stick to the date, then that's fine too.
Yeah, I think I know you're working on one or more PRs as well, Alice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, I mean, I would be, especially if it's within a week's time frame, let's just say that same week we could still release and have it all done. I think it's worth the delay. If it's going to be, let's say, a week and a half later, I'd say no, probably not. But that's kind of my gut feel. So September 11th is Monday. So yeah, I mean, I think if we can still release next week, and if it's, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we get the remaining straggler SDK v2 PRs in there, I feel like it'd be worth it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we haven't heard from Cecile yet, who, should have a vote certainly, but it sounds like we're roughly in agreement that we should wait maybe till like the end of next week at the latest to see all this stuff land. I think that's good. Good plan.
Okay. Yeah, we could have a fail safe and say, worst case, we're releasing Friday or something, with wherever we are. Okay.
Fair enough. So tentatively, we're gonna decide to hold off the release. We're in agreement for that.
I think so. I think that's kind of unless we hear strong or
Yeah.
other voices accordingly. I think it's worth within 4 days of a delay, but no more. Because I agree. I also agree with Matt's comment. It's like it's not, like people are asking, hey, I need the SDK v2 update. There's no material change there, but it is going to be 2+ months, and we want people to be able to use the latest bits that are provisioning their things underneath the hood, and also have a clean slate with the release for others who may be interested to build on top, so that they're not maybe waiting for that to be done either.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think as we get closer to the pushed back deadline, we'll find out pretty quickly if we can make it or not. That's the other thing as well I wanted to mention is maybe we could try to aim for a couple buffer days before we cut the release, or between when the SDK v2 changes land and before we cut the release, so we don't just I guess usher it out the door immediately, and we can wait a couple days to see if there's any bugs or anything to make sure everything's stable before we cut the new release.
Yeah, I'm in general not a fan of the wait thing. I feel like that's if you have your end-to-end tests passing, there's probably not gonna lot that's gonna happen in 2 days after you've already merged stuff. That's kind of my take, and then also I'm more of a roll forward fan. So like if you do find some critical bug, whatever, then it's like then you roll a patch release down the road. And then also if things are failing after the fact, then it's okay. Why did we not have a test that found this use case? And I feel like with where CapZ is at, I mean there's quite a bit of rigor, I feel like, with the testing. So yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I agree with you in general, but there are some bits of functionality and some uses that don't get tested until things are in main, and then we've waited until nightly periodic tests have run. So we would have to wait, I would argue, at least, overnight or perhaps 24 hours until we see that everything's still green. But I
Yeah,
don't know if there's value in waiting after that. But we don't cover everything in PR tests, which is probably the because we can't in practice.
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, you want all the end-to-end tests to run.
Yeah.
If that happens once every 24 hours, then that totally makes sense. I feel like that should be probably a general best practice so that you don't release a major release without having all the tests run once anyway.
Right. Yeah. So I guess we can aim for 24 hours or overnight. I think my suggestion is more like, don't try to like rush a PR out the door, so we can get the release out ASAP. Just, take your time and make sure everything is the way it should be before we cut the release.
Yeah.
But cool. I think that's it for the open discussion on for what I see on the agenda. I think yeah, Shwant, you mentioned there was a PR or an issue you're working on that you.
Yeah, so let me put it down here on the page. Is it okay if I add it to the chat?
Yeah, so the way it works usually is you add your name in brackets like this, and then you add what you'd like to talk about, and then when we go through the agenda items, we go through them from top to bottom.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so this is the issue of recent profile that I have opened in July this year. So the one of the goals here is that so the networking team has introduced application security groups to group certain policies applied to the VM, or instead of leveraging just the rules at the subnet level. So this is an extra layer of filtering that is happening. So at this point, I think the GAPZ doesn't offer functionality to integrate ASGs with the NIC. So I'm just skimming through the code to understand the existing code base, so that I'm trying to see how I could contribute. But any guidance here, or if I could collaborate with anyone, that would be helpful.
Does anybody have any thoughts? Matt, go ahead.
I mean, I don't completely understand this, but I get the gist of it, and it seems like the kind of enhancement we would want, since it's essentially improving security. Yeah, and probably there's someone on the team who has a little more insight into this, or would be willing to help out if you started a PR. But anyway, that's all I can think of. But it seems like something we would want to do.
Yeah, like Matt said, this seems like if it's already a feature that you can use with Azure, it seems reasonable to add it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see why not. David, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is this, are you using a managed or self-managed clusters?
It's a self-managed cluster.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a reasonable request. But yeah, we'll just take somebody coding that into make it work in CAPC.
Yeah. And also, I have a general question. So for the contributor series, I've been looking at the YouTube contributor series to see, to get an understanding how things work and the tags and all that. So is there, I mean, is there a platform that I can look at, or a video that offers me an insight into the existing code base, or and walk through of that, or is it something that the individual has to figure it out and come up with questions on Slack?
Matt, go ahead.
I think there are some videos out there from previous KubeCons and other sources about CAPI in general, and maybe you've already watched all those. And they may not be completely up to date. I don't know if we have anything. I don't think we have anything in terms of video, or probably even documentation about, this is really what the CAPC architecture is like currently. I could be wrong, and hopefully someone would tell me so, but I think at this point it's more like getting familiar with CAPI, because that's where the sort of architectural decisions have been made. And, and then once you sort of understand how all the pieces work in CAPI, then Azure is just a provider for that fits into that. And hopefully, and I guess at that point, you're supposed to wander through the code and figure out where things would go. Hopefully you could get some help here in this issue directly, like if you ask questions, or if you just start with a work in progress PR. Very often that's a great way to get people invested, and people are ready to say, hey, no, this is wrong and stuff. And so that's kind of how you make progress, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
As far as videos go, I remember, I think like over a year ago or something, I made a video walkthrough of the async framework for services. I don't have the link on me right now or on hand, and I'm not sure how up to date it is, but there was a video tutorial or kind of a walkthrough of the CAPC services code. It might not be super up to date, but I think the general framework is still there. So if I can, if you're on Slack, I can.
Yeah, I'm on Slack.
Yeah, I can ask around to find the link of where it got posted, and then we can send
Sure,
that.
that helps. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. I guess Matt, maybe you could add a note saying there was a async framework. Walkthrough or something like that. Yeah, I believe that was in one of the office hours recordings, but I would probably have to go through a lot of them to figure out which one it was. That was a while back.
No worries. Maybe next time I'll come up with more detailed question. But yeah, but I think the guidance here helps. So thank you.
Sounds good. Is that so? I don't see any more agenda items. Are there anything other outstanding? All right, anything else anyone would like to bring up or add to the agenda? It's kind of a free roam right now. All right, if not, I guess we can go over the milestone pretty quickly. Remind me, is it do we just want to go through this list? Cool. All right, I guess starting from the top, bring your own Azure network interface. Is there anyone who can comment on this? Matt, go ahead.
Well, I don't have any updated status, but I think at this point it's pretty obvious we should move it to the next milestone. I don't think Dane's gonna complete
Yeah.
things today.
Makes
'Cause
sense.
essentially, we just have today and tomorrow, or maybe a couple days next week.
Yeah. I gave this a review last month, but I don't think there's been any updates. So
Has anybody tried pinging Dane on Slack at all?
I have not, but I think we can try that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's should be pushed to the next milestone for now, but I still think it would be good regardless, because I think that's what the work he has there is useful for others. So it'd be good to have him finish it and not linger on for another 2-3 months or whatever, or close it out and not be merged, right? So
Yeah, makes sense. Is it just milestone next for the command? Cool. Next up, integrate Azure SDK v2. I think we talked about that earlier. And we decided to keep it in the milestone and push it back. Is there anything else so anyone would like to bring up? Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll keep it then. Convert all CI jobs to use workload identity. I don't see a PR associated with this. Is there anyone who can comment on the status of this issue? Matt.
And Ashutosh isn't here today, but at this point, obviously, it should probably be moved to the next milestone.
Yeah, I just was curious in case there was a PR that just
Are you-
didn't get linked today.
Does that work when you do milestone? Or does he get a permissions error? Because I'm not sure if you have to be actual maintainer or not for that to work. Give it a try. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Oops. Well, yeah, I guess if Matt or anybody
Yeah,
else.
we'll follow after you and clean it up. Yeah, sorry about that.
Willie.
You can like still change it on the right side, I think.
Oh. Perfect.
I don't know why it's like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I think I would still prefer to have maybe Matt or somebody use the command so that the way there's a history of what we did, because I don't think if you change it with the options that it'll preserve that.
It still shows a little audit line, but it's not as obvious as if you're doing the chat ops way that we prefer.
Oh wait, yeah, well, you're right. Yeah, there is a little line.
But I agree the / milestone next is the preferred way we do things in Kubernetes.
Okay, yeah. If you don't mind following along, then we can do that. Next up, by Ashutosh, CapZ should support UX for using workload identity in cloud provider Azure. Any updates on this? Doesn't seem like it's gonna make it from what I'm seeing with the rebase and the test errors. Are we cool with punting this down to the next one? Cool. Matt, you're following along, right? Cool. Azure Go Auto Rest will soon be unsupported by Matt.
Sorry. Yeah, we can leave this in the milestone. If we're going to complete all the SDK v2 work, that might effectively complete this, or maybe there's a little more work to do, but I think it could still happen.
Okay. Sounds good. Have you started anything on there, or is it just kind of a
Well, This is basically once we get all the SDK v2 work, then look at the code base and see where we're still referencing go auto rest and if we can get rid of that. And
Hmm.
I don't know whether that's gonna be trivial or some actual work. I don't really know.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we'll leave it for now, and then if it looks like it's gonna be too much, then we can just drop it when the time
Okay.
comes. By me, use CapH to install Helm charts and end-to-end testing. That's definitely not gonna make it. I'm still in the process of rebasing those PRs, and based on when we paired last time, it looks like a lot of stuff could be reworked to use the templates better. So I think we can punt that one to the next milestone. John, implement user assigned SMI auth for ASO.
Yeah, there's a PR open for this one that needs review, but yeah, I think this should be good to land before the end of the milestone.
Cool. Add UX to use workload identity for cloud provider Azure by Ashutosh. Looks like reviewers Willie, Nawaz, James, and Cecile who aren't there. Can anybody speak on this? Looks like it's probably not gonna make it, but Cecile, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is the PR for the issue that we already kicked to the next milestone earlier.
Oh, I see. Okay. Nawaz, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say that I didn't get a chance to review it, but
Oh yeah, no, I just saw the reviewers tab column here. That's what I was looking at. Okay, cool. Next one, make scale set VMs delete async. I think there was a test I was going to look at today. If that is able to get working, I think we should be able to land it in the next milestone or in this milestone. So I think we can leave it on and maybe give me a day or two to wrap that up. Matt, update scale set VM service to SDK v2.
Yeah, all these SDK v2 ones we can leave in the milestone because that's the plan. This one hasn't actually been started yet, but most of the other ones have.
Okay, will this conflict with the scale set VM service?
Yeah, probably, definitely.
Are we gonna make it in time? If one of us is
We talked about this briefly, I think yesterday, or at some other point, and it seems like it would probably be easier if your make delete async thing landed first, and then we refactored on top of that. But it might not matter that much. Maybe we could bypass it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it might be easier to land it first because
I think so.
Yeah, rebasing the refactors is really difficult because there's you change one line and there's like a whole merge conflict for the whole file, and you have to figure out where that would get refactored into the new code. So yeah, I'll try to get the VMs service refactor done ASAP, and then ping you once I'm ready.
That was good. We will probably do all the other services first.
Yeah, SDK, yeah. So yeah, I guess the rest of them are all SDK, which we went over. And the last but not least, add private link support. Nawaz.
I started reviewing it, but I think there were already a couple of reviews which the author had to get back to. So I think it's still worth keeping it in the milestone for now, depending on if the author can get back to us or not.
Yeah, I reviewed this the other day, but I don't think they've gotten back to it yet, and also it looks like it needs a rebase. Okay, well, I guess we'll leave it for now, and maybe ping this person on Slack to see if they have any updates. But yeah, I think that's it for the milestone, and I believe that's all we had planned for today. Any last minute thoughts before we wrap up? Going once, going twice. All right, well, thanks for coming to office hours for September 7th. I'm Jonathan, and have a great day. See you online, everybody.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Bye.